Glad to join us right here on Luntha television. It's time for news and you're with me, Charity Chilanga. First, let's have a look at the top stories. Pope Francis speaks against too much consumption of food. Minister of Finance unveils a robust macroeconomic framework for 2024-2025 budget, prioritizing fiscal responsibility and debt sustainability. Malawi National Examination Board money extends exams fee payments dates. And in other news, Democratic Republic of Congo's Constitutional Court confirms Felix Tshisekedi's victory in presidential poll. We have these and many more. Stay tuned. His catechism on vices and virtues, Pope Francis spoke about gluttony. He noted with concern that human beings have devoted themselves to consumption and the exploitation of goods and resources. Here is a Rome report read in our studios by Herbert Katanda.
The Holy Father said the voracity with which we have been plundering the goods of the planet for some centuries now is compromising the future of all. He noted the change in the manner people are called from man to a consumer, which is now more common in social life. Pope Francis also pointed out that people's relationship with food is often more complicated than it may seem, and he referenced eating disorders like bulimia, anorexia, and obesity. He said they are illnesses, often extremely painful, that are mostly linked to sufferings of the psyche and so perpetrated by the way food is consumed. He further added that many eating disorders express the suffering of so many people, adding that people have gone from being stewards of divine goods, of being consumers, processors of an insatiable voracity, and that is destroying the planet. As usual, at the end of the audience, Pope Francis asked for continued prayers for peace and places of conflict.
The Minister of Finance, Simplex Chichirapanda, says in order to meet its state sustainability goals by the conclusion of the fiscal year, the government has set aside a macroeconomic framework for the 2024-2025 budget, which examines a number of macroeconomic targets, including monetary and fiscal policy actions. He said this earlier today in Lilongwe during the Ministerial Pre-Budget Consultation meeting for the 2024-2025 national budget. Bridget Wanuka covered the event and she now reports.
The minister recognized that prices had continued to rise in 2023, noting that end period and annual average inflation rates were estimated to be 35.7% and 29% respectively, higher than those for 2022, which showed end period inflation of 25.4% and annual average inflation of 20.9%. Assuring Malawians that the government will make every effort to fully recover from the shocks the nation endured in 2022 and 2023, the minister projected that inflation would, however, gradually drop in 2024, with end period and annual average inflation rates projected at 17.4% and 21.7% respectively.
We are moving towards economic recovery and very soon people will see economic stability. We were talking about Forex in this country. World Outlook report has indicated that we have narrowed the gap between the official and parallel policy rate. That is a significant indicator of an economy which is working.
Citing the export ban on scrap metal as an example, economist Lucius Power of the Economic Association of Malawi, ECAMA, urged the government to enact measures that do not contradict the goals of current economic policy. He said in order to address new issues, authorities must balance economic concerns with increased security.
There are so many dynamics to economic growth, which means we might come back from 1.7% GDP growth this year to 2.3%. But to sustain this kind of growth is what really matters. For Malawi, we are an agriculture-dependent economy. We must always make sure we do not ignore agriculture. If we want to make the economy work for the people, let us pay attention to agriculture, increase agricultural productivity, invest in production areas in agriculture that gives us maximum benefit, but also look at other areas. So basically, to achieve sustained growth requires a collaborative effort between government and other stakeholders, including the private sector.
Professor Kennedy Machila from Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Luana, prayed with the government to incorporate the business community in the establishment of mega farms.
Malawians, in a year, we only work for 3 months, November, December, and January. The rest of the time, when we have harvested our crop, we relaxed. So we are now saying, if we can have these particular dams and dikes, people will be able to do farming throughout the whole year. In the process, we can be able to have food security, and at the same time, we cannot have even a deficit of food in the country.
The minister went on to say that the 2024-2025 budget design process is anticipated to benefit from the views received from the sessions. He stated that all opinions and recommendations from this meeting will be compiled by the Ministry of Finance and reviewed and taken into account throughout the budget consultation. Bridget Manoka, for Luntha News.
The Parliament's 2024-2025 budget meeting is said to begin in 30 days with various gurus anticipating a budget that is campaign-based. President Lazarus Chakwera will inaugurate the session on February 9th, according to a statement issued by National Assembly Speaker Catherine Kotanihara on January 9th. Here is Robert Edward reporting.
According to the Speaker of the National Assembly, Catherine Kotanihara, the fourth meeting in the 50th session of Parliament will run for 8 weeks until 5th of April 2024. The announcement comes when the Finance Minister Simplex Chichwala is leading pre-budget consultation meetings with a focus on recovery. In the recent New Year message, President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera acknowledged the economic hardships facing the country, but was quick to express optimism, hope and belief that there will be much better days ahead following the World Bank approved $174 million extended facility, which has unlocked international community support, including the direct budgetary support.
Kuyambira zaka 10 zapitazo, ichi chiri nchizindikiro chakuti tsopano nkhani ya zachuma ku Malawi kuno yambobwerera mchimake ndikuti anthu tsopano.
Some donors have agreed to resume budgetary support, something that was not happening for the past 10 years. This is an indication that the economy is recovering and people can do businesses. For instance, we have embarked on Agicom Phase 2 with 500 billion allocated to mega farms.
500 billion kwacha zikuperekedwa kuthandizira kuti tikhalenso ni minda ikuluikulu mega farms.
However, Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiatives SEDED Executive Director Sylvester Namiwa thinks the budget would focus on a campaign and describes it as unfortunate to celebrate direct budgetary support of other people's resources while the country fails to prudently manage the resources. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
The Malawi National Examination Board (MANEB) has extended the examination fee payments for 2024 Primary School Leaving Certificate of Education (PSLCE), Junior Certificate of Education (JCE), Malawi School Certificate of Education (MACE), and Primary Teacher Certificate of Education (PTCE). The board has extended the deadline for paying the examination fee to 12 p.m. on January 12th. 2024, according to a statement it released to give individuals who haven't paid time to catch up. Emmanuel Georgia with the full details.
Professor Dorothy Nampota, the director of MANEB, stated in an interview with Luntha Television that they have extended the deadline for paying examination fees for the 2024 exam, even though this was not intended to happen because Malawians were given an extended payment period which began on September 18th, 2023 and ended on December 31st, 2023.
Although we are behind schedule, it has to just provide a few more days for people that may have, source some money to actually pay.
Although he appreciated the board's decision to extend the deadline for payment, Lage Mbewe, an education expert, stated in a separate interview that it would have been preferable if the extension had extended till the end of January to allow parents source funds for their awards payment.
The extension is just too close to time, considering that they may not have been able to understand why parents have not registered their children. It would have been imperative to extend up to March end to allow for more parents to mobilize resources and actually do the needful.
The nation's dire economy circumstances have not spared the post-secondary education sector, since there have been stories of students at public universities losing access to their final year transcript and others quitting because they could not afford tuition.
Bridget Manoka reading a report followed by Manu Chocha. You're still watching news on Luntha Television. We'll be back after this short break.
Montfort Media is pleased to inform all its valued customers that the Pope John Paul II cloth, which many were longing for, is back on the market. The price is 12,000 kwacha per 2 meters. It is available in all our bookshops, that is in Balaka, Lilongwe, Dedza, Salima, Mangochi, Zomba, Chitakale, Chikwawa, Lunzu, Mwanza, Kasungu. Please hurry while stock still lasts. Montfort Media, a Christian media house that proclaims good news in order to promote hope, love, justice, peace, and solidarity.
kagwiritsidwe ntchito ka grow-based fertilizer ndi masungunulidwe ake. Ngati chimanga simunadzale, mugwiritsa ntchito kachivindikiro kena kalikonse ka 5 ml monga ka Yes Energy Drink, Froze kapena Mojo. Kamene katimasungunula ndi madzi okwana 1 lita, koma kachivindikiro ka grow-based fertilizer ndi 15 ml. Kamene katimasungunula ndi madzi okwana 3 liters, amene ali mabotolo atatu a 1 lita. Ngati chimanga chikudzalidwa mawa, pezani pero kapena beseni ndi mulingo wa madzi monga ndafotokozeramo. Ndiye kuti mudzadza grow-based fertilizer mukachivindikiro ka 5 ml kapena ka 15 ml. Musungunula madzi omwe mutavike chimanga. Choncho, onetsetsani kuti chimanga chamira. Chilekeni chigone momo. Mawa mupita kukadzala. Mukamaliza kudzala, madzi a fertilizer munavikira chimangawo mukhoza kuthira mtimapando mmene mwadzala chimangamo momwe angakwanire. Apa tidikira chimanga chituluke, ndipo chituluka chonse cha mphamvu ngati munalibemo chimanga chowola. Chikafika masamba 3, tidzagwiritsa ntchito sprayer. Tizikapopera m'masamba nthawi ya mmawa kulekeza 8 koloko. Ngati ali madzulo, tizikapopera kuyambira 4 koloko mpaka nakamdima. Onetsetsani kuti masamba onse anyowa kufikira pa tsinde. Tikatero tidikira milungu iwiri amene ali masiku 14. Tidzapitanso nthawi ya mmawa kulekeza 8 koloko kapena madzulo kuyambira 4 koloko. Masungunulidwe ndi omwe aja, koma tafika apa tikapopera pakati pa chimanga paja pamakhala kabowo paja, komanso masamba onse akuyenera kunyowa kufikira madzi atatsetsereka mpaka na patsinde. Tikatero tamaliza. Ikakhala nthawi ya mvula, tikapopera pakuyenera papite maola 4 kapena 4 hours mvula isanayambe kugwa.
Remember, you're watching news right here on Luntha Television. Now a reminder of the top stories. Pope Francis speaks against too much consumption of food. Minister of Finance unveils a robust macroeconomic framework for 2024-2025 budget, prioritizing fiscal responsibility and debt sustainability. Malawi National Examination Board money extends exams fee payments dates. And in other news, Democratic Republic of Congo's Constitutional Court confirms Felix Tshisekedi's victory in presidential poll. Moving on, Malawi government has officially approved the revision of salaries for civil servants. A circular from the Secretary for Human Resource Management and Development indicates the Secretary for Human Resource Management and Development, Blessing Chilabadi, says that the approval is aimed at cushioning the foreign exchange realignment. This comes barely days after government agreed to raise civil servant salaries by an average of 15% as workers protested the 10% hike, which was announced in this year's mid-year budget review. Jacqueline Saidi has filed this report.
Luntha Television understands that the increment that was to materialize in November last year will start to reflect in January salaries with arrears. Chibade says the salaries have been approved after thorough consultations with the Malawi Congress of Trade Union and the Teachers Union of Malawi. However, in an interview on Wednesday, the president of MCTU, Charles Kunchenga, confirmed that they were part of the meeting. He said the union was against the government's initial 10%, which was announced in the mid-year budget review by Minister of Finance, Honorable Simplex Chichorabanda. Kunchenga was quick to say the increment was a starterback, as the two parties are expected to meet in March this year for further discussions.
Quickly, I think the issue we discussed was to do with the salary revision, and we were against the increment of 10%. So what came out of the meeting was that the two parties agreed that the salaries had to be increased by 15% on average.
The government set a cap of 10% salary increment for civil servants. This followed the devaluation of kwacha in November last year. For Luntha Television News, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
The Malawi Blood Transfusion in the Eastern region has commended the collaboration that is there among its stakeholders and the institution as they are making a tremendous progress in blood collection. The head of depot for the region, Edith Chimpamba, has told Luntha Television that so far the depot has collected 13.5 thousand units against the 14,000 that is required annually, an achievement attributed to a goodwill by the donors. Rashida Matanyika has filed this report.
Good collaboration with donors and duty bearers has been one of the best tools in awareness towards blood donation and collection, as Chimpamba said, and in schools they have an organized relationship with head teachers and patrons who assemble students and encourage them to take part in the life-saving services. In communities, Chimpamba said local leaders play a great part in mobilizing their followers and helping them understand the importance of the service. Hence, every blood donor knows the role they play in saving other people and the healthy sector as a whole. She also said feedback from guardians and hospital authorities has helped the institution a lot, especially on matters of rare blood groups that are required, which has pushed the institution to do better in reaching out to all patients of different blood groups.
From the hospital, whenever there is shortage of those rare blood groups, especially the Rh negative blood groups. Normally, if they do not have the units, they communicate to us. And sometimes we get the communication from the concerned parties, either the guardian or even the patient himself, especially those patients that need blood for pre-operative cases. And whenever they reach us, we always ensure that we mobilize a unit of blood as soon as possible. Either we do a donor recall, because we also have a database for those blood donors with negative Rh blood groups.
Chimpamba has also expressed gratitude towards all the donors who continue to support them out of will and has called upon them to continue saving lives and work with the institution for the remaining 3 months that will end the 2023-2024 year, and has expressed hope that they will reach the 14,000 units target. The Malawi Blood Transfusion Services in Eastern Region covers the districts of Balaka, Machinga, Mangochi, Ncheu and part of Dedza. Rashida Matandika, Luntha TV, Balaka.
And in other news, the Constitutional Court in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, has rejected 2 legal challenges to the provisional results of a contested presidential election last month and declared President Felix Tshisekedi the final winner. The court confirmed on Tuesday that Mr. Tshisekedi got 73% of the votes. We have a BBC report being read by Robert Katanda.
The court validated the incumbent's victory despite independent observers' reports of widespread irregularities during the 20th December vote. The poll was also marred by widespread logistical problems, which the opposition said were part of a deliberate plan to rig the results in favor of Mr. Tshisekedi. Only one opposition candidate out of 18 took the matter to court. Others, including the runner-up Moses Katumbi, refused to mount a legal challenge after questioning the independence of the judiciary. The Constitutional Court ruled on Tuesday that the reported irregularities could not have impacted the overall results because there was such a big gap between the incumbent and Mr. Katumbi, who won around 18% of the votes. The verdict paves the way for Mr. Tshisekedi. The verdict paves the way for Mr. Tshisekedi for a second term on the 20th of January.
And that's about what we had time for in this edition of news. But before you go, another look at the top stories. Pope Francis speaks against too much consumption of food. Minister of Finance unveils a robust macroeconomic framework for 2024-2025 budget, prioritizing fiscal responsibility and debt sustainability. Malawi National Examination Board money extends exams fee payments dates. And in other news, Democratic Republic of Congo's Constitutional Court confirms Felix Tshisekedi's victory in presidential poll. You've been with me, Charity Jilanga. Thanks for the pleasure of your company and good night.